Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 9th event of the Safe Havens Freedom Talk series. This time in collaboration with Women Chapter International. My name is Meltem, and I'm happy to introduce Shucheesmita Simonti, the editor of the English section of womenchapter.com, Shumu, Haque, communications director at the Women Chapter International, and Supriti, Dhar, founder of the Women Chapter International. And today they will have a conversation on the story of this platform and the challenges faced during its journey. And now I will leave the word to Supriti after we see the video clip.
Thank you for inviting us in today's meeting or today's program. And I'd like to thank Savens and Free Talks for organizing such events. It's very important for us to tell about us, I think, because we're you can say they are fighting for our rights, to establish our rights and to talk about our rights. So I'm, as you say, that I'm Supriti Dhar. I'm the editor, founder editor of Women Chapter and founder, founder chairman of Women Chapter International. Okay, in the very beginning, I would like to say about Women Chapter, how I established this Women Chapter and what was the purpose behind this. Maybe we can play our PowerPoint in this Women Chapter. Our slogan, our main chooser towards a change, it's a movement towards a change. Women Chapter is the first ever online feminist writing platform for women in Bangladesh. But people say, we don't say that it is also the first ever feminist portal in language in the entire world. though we are not sure about this, but people say. And if you look at our history, that the early 2000s was very important in the recent history of Bangladesh. Uh, as the country kept leaning to the culture of Islamic fundamentalism, the state of women became even more difficult than it had ever been in the past. So as an activist and analyst, here I want to mention that I have been working as a journalist for more than 22 years, and I started my career in a newspaper. At the same time, I worked in newspaper and BBC radio and online newspaper and online media, on radio. So I just thought that I can, as a journalist with my experience working with different media houses, that I can get a platform where just, only women will work. And just we wanted to see the world through women's eyes. So in that time, as an activist and journalist, I was painfully aware of the lack of a safe space or platform where Bangladeshi women could openly discuss the issues that were matter of life or death to them. Safety from domestic and domestic or gender-based violence, sexual violence, access to information on their productive rights, etc. It is from this urgency that Women Chapter was born, but there was another history also. We had a Shahbag movement. We call it a great movement in our life because it shaped our new life. So in the late 2012 and early 2013, the youth of the country took on to the streets demanding justice for the war crimes committed against its population during the liberation war in 1971 by the Pakistani army's collaborators. And most of who are now connected to and heading the numerous pro-Islamic fundamentalist political parties such as Jamaat-e-Islam and Hifazat-e-Islami Bangladesh. The whole country woke up with the hope of new transformation or a new beginning, not unlike the Arab Spring. This movement, widely known as the Shahbag, a popular locality in the Bangladeshi capital of Dhaka, where they started, like Tahrir Square in Egypt, or we call it Projonmo Chattor. It means the word for generation in Bangla. So this is known as Shahbag movement. It opened people's eyes towards other areas in the society, disparately in the need of reform. So we started the movement on the 5th of February 2010. The first I can recall that we were mainly 70 people maybe at the first time, at the very beginning. But the other next day it was thousands of thousands. The next day it was millions already. So you can imagine how big it was. And politics of Hifazat fundamentalism in Bangladesh. Maybe you already know about that. It was an emerging power of fundamentalism in Bangladesh, while the progressive movements started to gain momentum in the country. In 2003, the fundamentalist political parties such as the Hifazat-e-Islami also struck back. So they had their 13 demands during a rally on May 5th, 2013. Will gives an insight such as to their vision of turning the country into an Islamic republic ruled by the Sharia law. Here are 13 demands of Hifazat. I don't want to mention all the 13 demands. but most of the duties were against women. So we women, as a women, we were we were not scared, but we were so much angry because they demanded that the women should go to the kitchen, they shouldn't study, they should go to the university with a male, uh, can I say that, with man, with boys. So of course it made us very much angry, and we did it it's a big rally, and we tried to, who were involved in the Shahbag movement, we tried to bring all the women organization or other liberal or progressive organization into this rally. And then as a journalist, I felt such, that vacuum in this movement, because something was missing. I felt that there was no connection between the organization. So at that time, as a journalist, what I can do, I can write. I cannot do protest on the street every time. So I decided to create a platform where women can express their views, opinions, then they can raise their voices. So in May, I remember, into 20th May in 2013, I created this women chapter. So women chapter started its journey. Uh, immediately following its inception, it became clear that women chapter had hit the right chord among youth of the country. It felt a void not only for the women, but progressive-minded men of the country as well. With its unique and revolutionary content, and with young and fresh writers, it created a new standard even for the long-established mainstream media. Here, I want to mention another thing, that in the mainstream media, we couldn't publish our articles, we couldn't write, because we were not a writer, we are not a columnist, but we had our opinion, we had our voice. So there was no place for women chapter where we can express ourselves. So when we created this platform, everyone started writing there. Every woman who wanted to write, and even mainstream media, when they saw the popularity of women chapter, they also brought many changes in their policy. So nowadays we can see the mainstream media, lots of women are writing in the mainstream media. And even they have open corner for women writers. So it's a very positive things. And besides mainstream media, there are lots of other feminist portals are coming out. So women chapter, we can say that the paved way others. It was not so easy to create this path. And it was a women chapter who launched the Me Too movement in Bangladesh in 2018. We are very much criticized at the same time with our polarity. And we threatened several times, many times, not only me as an editor, and my writer also. Many of our writers stopped writing in the women chapter because the threats and bullying and all. But we have continued our journey. So gradually, women chapter opened English section in 2016. We have opened a separate section. Before, it was only one country in the whole women chapter. And Shucheesmita Simonti took over as the editor of the English section. Maybe later she will explain how does she work there and why she joined at this section, and I can just mention here that in this 8 years journey, Women Chapter has got 2 awards. One is international, one is national. International award in 2014, Deutsche Welle, Germany's international broadcaster, selected Women Chapter in the blog category. For the Bob International Award, we got Best of Online Activism, and Women Chapter won the award of the websites and new portals of 16 different languages. It is a huge win for us because we had to beat Ukraine, and it was, if I'm not wrong, it was Japan. So we had to beat them that time. Ukraine was so popular after the revolution, so it was not easy to win this award. And in 2016, actually, I received the Ononna Award. It's a very prestigious award in Bangladesh. They gave this award to 10 women for contribution in various. So it was not in 2016, it was 2015. I received this Ononna Award for my work in the Women Chapter. And if I say about how difficult was our journey, so it had, maybe you already know that Bangladesh has a censorship and digital security act, which we call as a draconian law in our history, because our government has did this act to silence us, to silence all the dissidents, bloggers, thinkers, and all who have their voice. So it's a very, very much, black day for that when they enacted this Digital Security Act. And the portal kept gaining popularity among the progressives. It also kept attracting the wrath of a government that didn't appreciate its publications, criticizing various government policies, as it kept tending backwards to appease its pro-Islamic fundamental allies. And as a result, first its unofficial ally forces, supporters, various lobbying entities started harassing its writers and editors, which already mentioned, and online by taking on a massive online bullying campaign against them. And when they didn't stop them from writing, sharing their option freely, they changed their strategy, launching a full-on legal attack using this draconian Digital Security Act. It's a non-bailable act. So if you are arrested under this act, you can be put into jail without asking any question. So it's, and Women Chapter and me as an editor, and Shucheesmita as an editor, and our writers, we were under this act. And there are some people, fundamentalist people. I don't say that only fundamentalists. There are other people also who don't like us. So they filed a case. It's 3 cases I can call. They filed 3 cases against us. And recently there was and that have submitted the final report to the court. It means the police, they did an investigation against Women Chapter. We are hardly just sentiment, and we are publishing so much hatred towards one specific region, and they did investigation and they found us guilty that we are doing such things through our writing, and they have submitted their final report we call charge sheet against us, where they asked even the police who was investigator in this case. He has asked in Interpol to call Interpol to, arrest us. So it's huge harassment, of course. Maybe now I can hand over to Shucheesmita. Maybe she will say some few words. Thank you.
So to start with, I would like to share a bit of my personal journey, because I think for activists, when we want to share our messages, why we are fighting for certain causes, it's important to share a bit of our personal story. So I started writing when I was young. I used to write sometimes short stories, but I was also sharing my political opinions at times. For example, during the Iraq invasion, I wrote an open letter to the US president because I condemned what was happening over there. And also I wrote an open letter to Bangla Bhai, who was an infamous terrorist. When I was very young, I was going to school at that point. So later on, when I was doing my graduation in India, this is the time when the Shabak movement happened. So I was just, I was witnessing it from outside, and we were also having discussion because in India there are lots of Bangladeshi students, and I was involved in youth-led peace groups from my college time. So people would ask us about our opinion. What do you think about the movement? So this was actually the turning point in our the history of Bangladesh. In if I talk about the last decade, and so this is the time when I went through a personal transformation, because as I had a mixed religious background because of my parents' marriage, I always identified myself as someone who is leaning towards the secular ideologies. And for that reason, for a long time, Awami League, the current ruling party in Bangladesh, they were considered as the only savior for the country, because the other party, Bangladesh Nationalist Party already became infamous because of their direct relation with fundamentalist groups such as Jamaat-e-Islami and Hifazat-e-Islam. So for lots of people who identify themselves as non-religious or secular or humanist, Awami League looked like the only option, and that was the same for me. And for a long time I was having this plan to crack the civil service exam and serve the country from serve the state. But in 2015 my ideologies were shaken, because first of all, the killing of the bloggers started, and the government, instead of condemning the fundamentalists, they instead blamed them for writing things. But it is freedom of expression, so how a secular government can say that, I thought to myself. And that's when I guess my blind devotion as a young adult started, it was shaken, because I didn't expect that from Awami League, which is the secular democratic government of our country. And then in 2015, I also had this awkward encounter with CP Gang. So CP Gang is kind of a watchdog for our government. They monitor what people are writing against the government on Facebook, and they were very active in, I think, from 2014 to 2016, if I'm not mistaken, because I don't remember the timeline correctly. But they would threaten the people who would criticize the government, even if it's just a one sentence that I don't agree with this policy or this particular incident. Before you know, there are hundreds of people attacking you. And if you're a woman, they would give you rape threats. So this is what happened to me. Supriti Dhar, who also happens to be my mother, she criticized the government in one of the Facebook posts. And when I saw it, she was getting rape threats from the CP Gang members. So when I tried to protest that you can't use such vulgar languages, I got rape threats as well. And as a result of that, for 2 months during my vacation in Bangladesh, I was really afraid to step out by myself. And I had to request for in my office if they can give me the public transportation, because I really felt uncomfortable stepping out, because this incident went viral. the screenshot of our Facebook conversation was everywhere, so I was just afraid. And as I mentioned before, I was writing from childhood, and when I started my master's program, I started writing about issues related to women. So, and I joined a platform called Safety First for Girls. It was founded in Zambia, and I was serving remotely. So in 2016, I was approached by Supriti that if I would be interested in the English section of Women chapter. And because I was already working on this and I was trying to develop my skills as a writer, I took it up as a challenge. And because this is the English section, I thought it would be important that I look for translators who can translate some of our best write-ups from Bengali to English, so that non-Bangladeshi audience can also understand the wave of feminism in Bangladesh, how the women are thinking about the issues, because every context is very different. And secondly, I also thought, since I had already built an international network because of volunteering with different youth-led groups, why don't I promote a women chapter amongst my own networks? And a lot of people were enthusiastic about it. They reached out to me with their articles, and this is how the journey started. And now it's been nearly 5 years that I'm working as the editor of the English section. So I have encountered a few challenges along the way. I think within few months of starting to work as the editor, I already got threats and criticism for publishing certain articles amongst my own network. Some people were not happy, and that also impacted my academic life, because it also led to campus politics and why I was publishing certain articles, even though I tried to be as strategic as possible in the beginning. And also with the volunteers, yes, there were volunteers who dropped out, and there were certain situations where the writers kept calling me to remove the articles because they were getting threats within their family. And I also had a volunteer who was forcibly married off. I don't know if it had something to do with her volunteering with Women chapter, but this happened all of a sudden, that her family just decided to throw a surprise party on her birthday, and the surprise was a marriage, and she had no clue. And since then, she didn't work with our portal. And later on came the legal consequences with this Digital Security Act, which is which you can compare with the blasphemy law of Pakistan. Like in Pakistan, you don't even need to be an activist to be charged under the blasphemy law. Somebody can just use it for the taking a revenge on somebody, mostly belonging to religious minority groups. Likewise, in Bangladesh, if the government doesn't like you, or the Islamic fundamentalists don't like what you are doing, you can be charged under the Digital Security Act. And there are people who have been in prison for several months and even a year, and only few have been released. And these are the people who are mostly having who mostly come from the elite backgrounds of Bangladesh, who have people to back them up. But what about people in villages who get charged under Digital Security Act or its predecessor, ICT 57 Act? And because now media is also under the pressure of the government, so we don't get to know a lot about these people later on. Okay, this person has been arrested, but what happened after that? Did this person come out at all? What happened to the families? Because being accused of hurting religious sentiments, it's a very dangerous situation in Bangladesh. So yeah, we don't get to know, because newspapers cannot publish things as and when they wish, and when they do, there are consequences. So these are some of the challenges we are also dealing with ever since this platform was created. And personally, I don't feel safe to go to Bangladesh with all these cases, because in past there have also been instances where people have been detained from the airport. And as I said, it takes a lot of lobbying, and you need to really have powerful lobbying to get you released. But you never know if you will be alive in the prison to be released. With the current situation, it's just getting worse and worse. And the government, which still claims to be a secular democratic government, they have compromised with the radical groups. Now, a lot of these oppressive policies against women, before it was just Jamaat Islami or Hifazat Islam, organizing public demonstrations on the streets that we don't want women to go to school or we want women to the kitchen. But now government is, I don't know how to say it in English, like it's becoming part of the official policies of the country, with child marriage, with domestic violence. The government just wants to stay in power at the moment in Bangladesh. So they will compromise with anyone, be it the Islamic fundamentalists in Bangladesh, or because India is our powerful neighbor in the region. So to keep a good relationship with India, sometimes the government is silent on the matters relating to oppression of minorities in India. But in recent times that have changed. But yeah, the current party just keeps changing its narrative. It's about what suits them at that moment, just to stay in power. Yeah, that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Shucheesmita. Maybe just I'll take this platform for a little while. And okay, you have come to know about Women Chapter and Women Chapter's journey. Now, after 8 years, actually, we were planning to move further. So we decided to create Women Chapter International. When I'm living in Sweden, you know that I was trained in 2015, 16, 17. So I had to move from the country. So I came here in Sweden. Here I was thinking that how can we help women and other human rights activists from such men, or you know, what's happening in Bangladesh. So, and that's why we created this Women Chapter International. Maybe I can hand over now to Shumu Haque, that she will explain very clearly how we started our journey and actually what's our plan to do in future. So Shumu.
Thank you, Safe Haven Freedom Talks, for giving Women Chapter International and womenchapter.com this opportunity to present our organizations here. It's a great honor to be here today. So Supriti and Shucheesmita has already given you quite a bit of background. Before we move on to more details about the Women Chapter International, or what we address as WCI, let's watch a quick video that kind of captures the essence of this transition from the portal to the organization. So here it comes. And also the video will have a little bit of a message from two of our other board members who couldn't be here today. So here it goes.
My name is Camilla Karlsson and I'm a board member of Women Chapter. And I have been a board member from the start, and I live in Sweden, And I think the work who Women Chapter is planning to do is very important. And we are in a lot of, we have connections in a lot of other countries, and it's especially important for the children and for the young girls. So this work is very, very important.
Greetings from Bangladesh. I'm Monjur Nahar. I'm a founder member of Women Chapter International. I'm taking immense pleasure to introduce you all with Women Chapter International. Actually, Women Chapter International as an organization isn't new, but its journey has begun since long time. Through an online portal, Women Chapter raising the discriminatory issue against women, marginalized people, and also developing the capacity of women writers to write the women issue, gender issue, and identifying the issues that has created discrimination among the marginalized people and women all over the globe. So that is the basic point of starting point of Women Chapter International. Later, Women Chapter International took its registration from Sweden with the aim to create a just society. Our focus on to reduce the discriminatory practice against women and girls in different countries. Primarily we focus on Bangladesh. As you all know that Bangladesh is highly class-based and gender-based society. So we are focusing to reduce gender-based violence, and especially during the COVID period, we are focusing on early child marriage, safe pregnancy, safe motherhood, and also domestic violence. Along with this, our dream is to work all over the globe, and people like you, the similar minded people, to fight together, to work together. So that is the brief introduction of Women Chapter International. Thank you.
That video gave you a little bit of background as to why we created it and what are some of the areas that we want to work in. We had a presentation prepared for reviewing, but after all this PowerPoints, I thought let's just talk and share our ideas with you instead. When I started writing for Women Chapter in 2014, I also felt some backlash from people around me. I got some threats as well. I do not have any cases filed against me, but when I do go back home, I do have to deactivate my social media. I cannot move around freely, and people would steal our articles and publish them with distorted titles that would make it look like we're trying to insult the sentiments of people's religious views. So things back home in Bangladesh, to say the least, is not very conducive to creating an environment where you can write or share your ideas freely. And you would imagine that a country that is 50 and celebrating its 50 years of independence would have more freedom for its women. But unfortunately, things started going backwards, as Shucheesmita has detailed earlier. So we realized that we needed to create a platform that will have the organizational structure and we'll be able to have that global force that will give us the freedom to work freely, will give us the freedom to work on the policy level, will give us the freedom to create uh, a conversation across the globe and do lobbying if necessary from one government to the other, to network with other similar organizations so that these issues can be addressed. And as you know, with globalization, these issues are not only limited to Bangladesh. All South Asian countries have similar issues when it comes to human rights abuse, when it comes to gender-based violence, when it comes to um, women suffering because of not having the basic rights as human beings. So we wanted to work in those areas. Um, so Women Chapter International was formed as an NGO. It is registered in Sweden, but we plan to work not only in Bangladesh and Sweden. We want to work in African countries. We want to work in the Bangladeshi diaspora in North America. We want to work in Europe. And we have started networking with a lot of organizations all over the globe already. So some of the issues that we have addressed already and that are very important to us are, for example, rape as a war crime. If you're familiar with the history of Bangladesh, you know that it is one of the countries that has the highest amount of rape committed during its liberation war in 1971, highest in terms of what has been recorded in history. So we started working around that topic, and then we realized that because of that trauma that has not been addressed properly, those survivors were not given the support that they needed. That trauma has been handed down to generations, to their descendants, and people are still suffering as a result of that. And this is not a unique issue to Bangladesh. So we started doing these webinars where we connected to survivors from Rwanda genocide. We started connecting with people from Europe, from Kosovo, from Poland, from all over the world. And we want to continue on that road. We want to work with survivors of sexual violence. We want to create a support system for them. We want to make sure that they have a rehabilitation program so that they can also reach their potential as complete human beings in the society today. We want to address issues such as female genital mutilation. That is a very, very serious and a very real problem in Europe today. When we talk about feminism in Europe, because it used to be such a very white collar feminism, even 20 years ago, when you talk about third and fourth wave feminism, it has gone way beyond those basic things. But if you look at today's Europe, because of the globalization, the population and their needs have changed. If you look at the demography today, it's not any longer that particular population that would relate to those fourth wave or third wave feminism, right? So their needs have become much more basic. So we felt that there is a vacuum there. There is a need for those crimes such as honor killings, such as honor-based crimes such as forced marriage. Those things are a very, very real threat to South Asian diaspora all over the world. So we want to make sure that those things are addressed, and that we can work in the policy level. We want to make sure that we work with, we create that support system so that no one can ever fall through the crack ever again. And it's a very, Women Chapter International is a very new organization, and we have only completed our first year. We're to be specific, it's been only 15 months or so. So it's a very new journey, but we do have a lot of dreams, and we have been connecting with some amazing organizations, and we have been getting a lot of response from the diaspora, from the Bangladeshi diaspora, from the African diaspora, from all over the globe. And we want to continue on that path. We want to make sure that those without the voices, the survivors of war crimes, the survivors of those trauma that couldn't voice their stories because of the shame, because of the stigma that is connected to them, we want to make sure that their voices are heard. We want to create that platform globally, not just within Bangladesh. We want to make sure that platform exists wherever it's needed, be it Rwanda or in South America or in Kosovo, or it can be a South Asian community in Toronto. We want to make sure that everybody gets the support that they needed. So that is where WCI wants to be there. And we hope that everyone will help us and guide us on that journey. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Shumu, for clearly stating that what we actually want to do in future. And I want to just add here, and I want to take this advantage of this program, and that we have started our new journey with the Women Chapter International, and we registered in June 2020, so 15 or 16 months have already passed. So, but in this pandemic, we were not sitting idle, we were doing so many networking we have done, and we have done so many webinars, and of course, we don't have any money for this, don't have any budget for this. We are doing it, with our own ambition. I don't know how to explain that, that we have loved this work and what we to do. It's Women Chapter International is a human rights organization, but what's the difference between other organizations with the Women Chapter International is that we would be, we focus on domestic violence and forced marriage, child marriage in our South Asian countries and South Asian diaspora all over the world, and trauma, of course, trauma of war rape victims and rape victims. So we have lots of other, perspective to do. So here is the difference between other organizations with Women Chapter International, that we want to focus on human things, what, don't do other organizations. So we maybe women rights activists, we feel the pain, what is happening with women all over the world. So we want to bring all women, all other organizations to work with us, and I hope that who is listening us, our program, they will feel the necessity of this organization, and they will extend their hand also towards. Thank you so much. Thank you, Safe Havens. Thank you, Freedom Talks, for such a program. It was an immense pleasure for us to introduce, you know, express ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you all. I think it's been a very rich and informative talk. Thank you again, Women Chapter International, and also our web partner, HowlRound. The Freedom Talk series is a concept closely connected to the annual Safe Havens Conference, and it focuses on the issues regarding threats towards artistic freedom, free press, and intangible heritage. These talks are organized by the Safe Havens Freedom Talks and sponsored by the Swedish Institute. And the next Freedom Talk will be in collaboration with the Artistic Freedom Initiative very soon. Thank you again for joining us today, and have a good day, everyone.